What is going on, my friends? Hank here from Spurs and Brews Scale Modeling, and today we are talking all about tank tracks. Now, I'm usually a guy who sticks with the tracks that come with a model kit, but that might be changing. I just built up a set of these aftermarket individual link tracks from Tankraft, and I've got to say, wow. In the past, I've been hesitant to use aftermarket tracks because I always thought they'd be really difficult and tedious to assemble, but these changed my mind completely. So today, I'm going to show you guys how easy it is to assemble these tracks and what a difference it makes in quality and detail at the end. So with that all said, let's hop right into it. Alright, so today we're going to be demonstrating the assembly process using this set of T3476 tracks from Tankraft, but the concept is going to be the same for any of the tracks that they offer. If you'd like to check out their full assortment, I've dropped a link down in the description below. And as a special little treat for you guys, you can use code SPRUESandBrews15 to save 15% on your Tankraft order today. Now you've got a little extra beer money. You are welcome. Alright, so I built this first run of tracks here off camera for a little practice before I filmed this, and you can see just how beautifully these tracks look when they're all put together. These are molded using the exact measurements from actual tank tracks, which I can personally vouch for because I helped take the measurements for their A34 Comet tracks. Pretty cool. And they behave just like real tracks because they're designed just like real tracks. They've only shrunk them down to 1/35 scale. But enough of me chatting about them, let's actually build some up. If you open the box here, you can see this nice little fact sheet about the tank in question, as well as some little tips and tricks about how to assemble the tracks. And they've got a really helpful diagram of how to assemble these tracks the right way. T34 tracks are relatively simple, but there is a right and a wrong way to align them. There are three basic parts to these tracks: toothed links, toothless links, and track pins. There are 36 of each, 72 total for each side, and we're going to alternate between toothed and toothless links. Now, to make sure that your tracks are facing the right way, there are a few simple visual cues to look out for. On the toothed tracks, there's a little V in the middle of the track. The open side of the V is going to point towards the front of the tank, so that is a good guideline for us to start with. And on the toothless tracks, there's a little protrusion on one side of the track that is larger than on the other side. That larger joint is going to be on the rear of the track, so closer to the back of the tank. Now, if we pull out our actual parts, you can see they're nicely separated in bags here. First, we've got our pins, and there are plenty of extras in there. And then we've got our toothless links. And finally, we've got our toothed links. To start out, we're going to count out 36 of each link for one side of our tank. We'll do the toothed links first. I mentioned that I built up one run already, so you can see how many spares you get here, which is great to know in case you make a mistake, or if you want to use some as applique armor on your tank down the road. Now we're going to count out the same thing with our toothless links. We need 36 of those as well. And finally, we're going to dump out a handful of pins. We can always grab more later if we need them. One really important thing to note here, we want to insert the pins from the inside of our tracks to the outside, so the pin heads will be closest to the tank. Since I already built up this run of tracks for the right side of the tank with the pins going in on the left, we want to do the opposite for our next run. So here is our first link. This is a toothed link. You can see the little V on there. And we know that the open end of the V is going to point toward the front of our vehicle. We're going to flip that over, and then we're going to grab a toothless link. You can see those little bumps that I was talking about that we want towards the rear of the tank. So we can fit that second link into place like so. And already you can see how nicely those fit together. Next, we just need to grab a track pin from our pile. You can see there's a large head on one end of the pin, just like with a nail. And we want to hold the pin by that end with the head and gently slide it into place between the tracks. These are designed with a pretty perfect clearance, so you only get a little bit of friction going in there. Don't force the pin. If it's not going through, there's probably a slight alignment issue between the link eyes. To fix this, just wiggle the links back and forth a little bit like a door hinge and put some pressure on the pin. It'll eventually slide right through, like so. Just push the head in there so it's right about flush with the side of the link, and boom, your first two links are connected. Now, the instructions suggest a little bit of super glue can be used to hold these pins in place, but I really didn't find that necessary as the fit was just good and snug as is, so I just left them like this. And now that we've got our first links connected, we can start cruising right along with the rest of them. Just keep in mind our rules while we go along. Open end of the V's facing towards the front, pins on the inside. Once you get the swing of it, this becomes super relaxing. At least I thought so. You can pop on some music, pop on a podcast, or maybe even a nice T34 documentary, and just plug right along. I'll leave a couple minutes of actual real-time assembly footage in here so you can see just how smoothly these go together, and hopefully it'll give you a little idea of the process that worked for me. If you'd like to skip ahead though, I've got a few more tips on troubleshooting and how to attach these to your vehicle at the end of the video, so be sure not to miss those. Alright, so one issue you might run into, like I did here, is a pin that really just doesn't want to go in. This only happened to me about once out of 100 plus connections, so there's a quick remedy for this. I've got some of these 0.6mm drill bits that are the exact size of our link eyes, and in the chance that there's a little bit of a mold defect in there, you can just quickly run the bit through the eyes by hand. Give it a quick little twist, clean those out, and boom, you should be good to go. And if you break a pin by accident as well, you can use this bit to push the busted part out of the eyes and then just grab a backup from the baggie, no big deal at all. Alright, so once you've used up both your piles of links and you've completed a track run, we can do a little test fit on the tank. Now I'd recommend not joining the links together to make a complete loop just yet. We're going to want to wait to paint these first as just a straight line, and then we can add the final pin once we've got these on the tank, just like they would in real life. You can see how easy it is to feed these right on there. They've got a beautiful fit and a natural sag because they're literally the same construction as they would be on a real T34. It's pretty fantastic. And just for comparison's sake, here are our Tankraft tracks next to the kit provided tracks. Now, albeit this is a pretty old Tamiya kit, their tracks have improved a lot since this T34 came out, but the difference in the detail is pretty remarkable. Alright, so now that we've got our tracks all built up, we ought to paint them. Be sure to stay tuned for my full tutorial on how to paint and weather up these awesome little tracks, and in the meantime, you can check out some of these other helpful tutorials right here. Until next time, my friends, be well, happy building, cheers.